Hey guys, Magnus Robert here, bringing you another video. I do apologise, I am very sick, so apologies if I sound weird, and there's probably going to be a lot of cuts, because I'm probably going to be coughing, so don't worry, I'll try to spare you from it all. So today we're going to be doing the content list for the Treehouse of Horror XXXIII, aka Treehouse of Horror 2022. Now, I found this update pleasantly okay. I don't think it's anything amazing. I think it's a step. It's like it's a good. I think a good is on a scale. If we have terrible, bad, meh, good, great, and amazing, right, or poggers. I think this is a good. Like I definitely think there are flaws in this one. I think a lot of the characters are kind of lackluster, and that's my biggest criticism with this update. I think building wise it's very solid, decorations is pretty solid, we've got some really cool facades. It's really just where the characters are, and I do think characters and buildings are about equally as important. I don't really often find decorations that important, but characters and buildings I think are the most important, and I was just a little disappointed with some of the characters that we got, and I definitely think a lot of them had potential but kind of didn't. So let's get into it. Starting off with the characters, the first one, we'll go through the three characters first. So we have Mopey Mary. Now, a lot of people I saw were saying, "Oh God, Mopey Mary, she's from that crappy, Halloween Treehouse of Horror segment from last year." And do you know what? I was a little skeptical. I was thinking, okay, I do kind of like her design. I think she visually looks really, really cool. I like that kind of, the ring sort of parody. I like the idea of it. It just wasn't executed very well. But I honestly think Mopey Mary wasn't too bad. I think her questline was a step above meh, so not great. But her two animations I quite like. They could have gone for something a little bit more darker with her animations. They definitely went quite light with them. But overall, I think she's not too bad. Father Ben was surprisingly quite decent. I think his questline was okay, and his two animations were pretty awesome too. So I wasn't too disappointed with Father Ben. I think he was actually pretty good. I do think the character on the surface is very generic, very boring, but I definitely think they did what they could with him, so I think I'm pretty happy with him overall. Sideshow Chicken, I actually love the design of it, I can't lie, I think he looks really funny. I do think this one should have been a costume for Sideshow Bob, obviously, very annoyed that it wasn't, but it was a little disappointing when it came to the animations. I think they're both very similar. They both have him doing something and then falling down and then repeating that thing and then falling over. It's just very repetitive. Both are very similar. They should have gone out with, done something a little bit different with the second one, or one of them anyway. They should have been quite distinctive from each other. Questline wise, I think there was some funny things in his questline, but I wasn't overly overwhelmed with it. I think it was okay though. So that's all the free characters. Obviously there is also a free costume, but those are the free characters. So now let's look at the premium. First off, we have the Horseless Headman. I have said my thing about this. A lot of people seem to love the Headless Horseman, and I can understand why. He's got an 8-part questline, which is so awesome. They don't often do that for characters, and I think, that was pretty standout. I do admit, I do think the questline was a little boring near the end, and it kind of dragged, but I still commend the fact that they actually went through the effort of giving an 8-part questline. However, my biggest issue with the Headless Horseman, I just think there's so much wasted potential with the character. I think both the animations are kind of boring, and they really should have had either his horse also be added alongside him, like as a sort of combo, character NPC combo with the building, like they did with Mrs. Frink with the Octoparrot, or alternatively, he should just have an animation with the horse. I think having a Headless Horseman who walks around with a head, I know it's not his real head, but regardless, he walks around with a head, and he doesn't have a horse, it's kind of like defeats the purpose of the character, and I think he could have actually looked really menacing and really cool if he actually had an animation with the horse, and also if he walked around with the head in his, under his arm like he does in his unlock image. I just don't like the fact that he walks around with the head actually on, especially if we're going to be getting like a pumpkin, like a pumpkin man later on, which is a possible character we could get in a later update. They're going to look very similar. Then we have Edgar Allan Poe. Now, I think it's awesome adding real life people to the game, especially historical figures. And, someone like Edgar Allan Poe contributed a lot to horror, so it's actually so cool to see him be added into the game. However, my biggest issue is I think they didn't do enough with him. I think both of his animations, I love his first one, not too keen on his second one, and I feel the same about H.P. Lovecraft, but we'll get on into him in a minute. And, you know, this is Edgar Allan Poe. This is the guy who created The Raven, you know, one of the first segments The Simpsons tackled. And I think they definitely didn't do enough with him. He felt kind of lackluster. A 3-part quest line was just kind of crappy. I didn't like his involvement in the event too much either. Yeah, I was just very disappointed with him, and I especially think that there was a missed opportunity to add a few more sort of horror creators, like Orson Welles, or adding, Alfred Hitchcock. And I don't even think like the whole update should be just those type of people, just the premiums. You know, I think it's an extra added bonus to get like some real life people in the premiums. And I definitely would replace the Headless Horseman and Mad Dr. Itchy with those sort of people. And then moving on to H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, I feel somewhat similar about him and Edgar Allan Poe. I think there's a lot of wasted potential there. I definitely think they could have done more with Cthulhu and Munster. I think having a 3-part quest line was kind of crappy. It should have been longer. And also, yeah, I feel, missed opportunity with him. They should have done more with him. Not as big as Edgar Allan Poe. I think I'm more bothered with what they did with Edgar Allan Poe, but H.P. Lovecraft they should have done more with. They touched on his controversial side, which I actually kind of appreciated, because, he's a bit of a... He's got some wacky ideas, you know, and I kind of liked how they actually addressed that briefly. Not to, like, I know it's, like, kind of like, well, the game's political, you're making the game political, but yeah, like, he's a very political figure, you know, he believes some wacky shit, so I think it was fair to somewhat address that, but his task for try and get woke was so... I never thought the word woke would be in Tapped Out. That is bizarre to me. Anyway, Mad Dr. Itchy is the next one, the next premium. Now, I was a little disappointed that this wasn't a costume for Itchy. I think what they could have done, and I think a lot of people would have appreciated this, is if this was a costume for Itchy, but if you don't own Itchy, he's in the store as like a combo with this costume. And they've done it before with other things, especially with like the Crazy Cat Lady when she gets costumes. They've sort of returned her in like a combo. And I think they should have done the same with Mad Dr. Itchy, make it a costume for Itchy rather than a character. And I would have been a lot more forgiving of this one. That's my biggest concern, but you know what? I didn't actually mind it too much. I think the animations are pretty cool, so... and the questline was meh, but I didn't hate him as much as I thought I would, but still not a great character. And then finally, Frank and Scratchy. Wasn't too happy with this one. Obviously, it's a super premium, and I just think it's another missed opportunity. It should have been a costume, especially because you're making it super premium anyway. You could have done a combo, and that would have made it a lot more worthwhile if you had like a combo with the cartoon set and Scratchy with this costume. You know, for people who don't have Scratchy, that's a really good deal for $9.99. You know, or $9, whatever it is. $8.99. But they didn't, and I think again it's a missed opportunity. You make the super premiums a little bit better, and yeah, the players who already have Scratchy have to pay full price, but you know, it is what it is. I like it when they're nicer to the newer players or players who've not got everything in the game, and especially because Scratchy is like a ridiculously expensive character anyway. I don't know if he's been reduced in recent years, but he was like really expensive when he was first added. But yeah, Frank and Scratchy, just not too fussed on it really. So, if I was to pick a character I like the most, I think my favourite character of this update, regardless of my complaints of him, is probably Edgar Allan Poe. I did, for the most part, enjoy his presence in the game. I think they definitely could have done more with him, but like I said, I was pretty disappointed with the characters overall. Second to that, I actually think it's probably Father Ben, you know. I actually quite enjoyed... I was sort of... Maybe it's because I had low expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised with what they did with him. That's probably why he's my second. And my third's probably actually Mopey Mary, you know. I actually liked what they did with her as well. And again, that might be because I was pleasantly surprised. Headless Horseman is probably 4th place. And I know a lot of people are probably going to say Headless Horseman's their favourite. But, I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm used to being different and being wrong. So, there you go. Anyway, skins. We've got Riveter Willy. So... I do feel this was a little misplaced. I do realise it is from like a Halloween-esque, segment, but it's just such a weird costume to throw in, and there was definitely more from that segment that they could have done instead of this one. And honestly, with so many potential costumes, like this one for Sergeant Bob, this one for Itchy, this one for Frank Scratchy, this one for Scratchy, I just feel like this one was a little lackluster. I don't actually hate it as much people. The consensus seems to be like most people hate this one, at least from what I've heard from people in the Discords and stuff. But yeah, I actually don't mind him that much. I definitely think he's a little misplaced, especially in this prize track, but I kind of like him. I kind of appreciate it. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. Moving on, we have buildings. So let's go through the wall. We'll go through free ones first and then premium ones. So Columbus Day HQ, this is like a semi-tap-tap exclusive. Obviously, this is from the Halloween headquarters Halloween HQ. And they actually have a similar building in the game anyway, which they actually added for cash in this update, which is very cool that when it returned. So what they did instead is they made the Columbus Day building and then made a skin for the Halloween headquarters for this building, and I think that was a very wise choice, especially considering those two buildings would be very similar. So yeah, I really appreciate the fact that they did this semi-tap-tap exclusive, and it makes sense because obviously on the original banner it says formerly Columbus Day headquarters. So yeah, spine chills. I do like this one for the most part. I just wish they made it a bit bigger. They definitely could have made it like a 4 or 5 in 1 type of building for sure, with like 2 houses either side. But then I also get the reason why they just made it 2, makes it easier to decorate. It's not too long where like fitting it in your neighborhood might be a bit difficult even. Yeah, I do wish it was a tiny bit bigger, but for the most part I really like it. The Spook House, as far as I can tell, this one's a tapped-out original, and it's a bit weird that they've done this, especially because there's a similar sort of Spook House, I think it's called the Screamorium or something, or Screamatorium, that's in the Colonel's Traveling Carnival, the episode with Cooter and Spud, and I think they could have added that one instead of this one, really, but I do kind of like it. For a tapped-out exclusive, it's pretty nice. It's a nice-looking building, and I like how it's all sort of run down and abandoned. Crate and Burial is, standard store. No complaints about it, really. It's pretty cool. I like it. It pops out a little bit as well, and somewhat fit in the update. Luxury Crypt, I do not care for. I think this is probably the worst building in the update, just because we've already got so many crypts before, and they made it a building, which I think, honestly, if you're going to make anything a decoration, just make the crypt decoration. Nobody cares about the crypt, really. So, yeah, I don't know. I think this one is definitely the worst building. Not necessary. We've got so many crypts in the game, I'm kind of bored of them. The Abandoned Lighthouse really should have been added last Christmas update, to be honest, but regardless, it's here now, I guess. It's kind of cool. I do like it. Having more lighthouses, you'll get no complaints from me because I quite like them, so yeah. Springfield Costume Shop. Now, I think for a premium building, it's a little bit, because it's not like a big sort of, crazy building like one of these three. But I still really love this building. I think it was definitely long overdue. It's such a versatile building that you could add in pretty much any update, like any sort of annual update. Like you could add it in a Valentine's one, someone's dressing up as Cupid. You could add it in Halloween, someone's dressing up as, insert Halloween character. Or you could do it in Christmas, be like, dressing up as Santa. So it was a very universal building. I'm a little disappointed that they added it with the Headless Horseman, though, to be honest, just because, I don't know, like, I think it's like a type of building I think I would want on its own, just so it can be re-added and more sort of different annual updates, and it's kind of universal in that way. But regardless, I think it's pretty cool. It's standard. It's awesome. I like it. Then the House of Usher, really, really cool building. I got no complaints about this one. It looks awesome. There's a lot of castles and, medieval type buildings in the game, and this one I think stands out, so I'm very happy with it. Fogbury Port, I actually do not like, just because it really should have been something that added to the, added to the beach. So you should have been able to connect it to the beach and the sea, similar with the Little Lisa's recycling plant. I think, or at the very least, it should have been easily attachable to the Squidport. Either one. It's not easily attachable to the Squidport, and it's not. You can't obviously put it on the beach. It just goes in the sea, and it's really disappointing. I think it just looks really stupid in just sitting on its own in the sea, because it's meant to be a port and it's not connected to the the land. It's really dumb. So I really wish they fixed that in a future update. I might look back on it a little bit more favorably if they were to do that, but not. I think probably my least favorite premium building. And then Mad Dr. Itchy's castle. Really love the animation for this one. It's so cool. The building itself is pretty standard. Not the same. Not on the level of House of Usher. It just doesn't stand out. It does feel a little. And I know it's obviously from an Itchy and Scratchy segment, so that's why it doesn't look, well defined. But it looks a little plain. And I know it's from an Itchy and Scratchy segment, so that's why. But still, they could have always, done a little tweaks here and there, just a little bit of, like you can see here, the colours kind of change. This is a different colour to this, whereas this is all like one grey and one blue. So yeah, I maybe if they just kind of tweaked it a little bit, and that's a real nitpick. I still love this building; it's pretty cool. So yeah. And then, favourite building of the update, I think I probably will go with the Spine Chills. Actually, I don't know. I think probably House of Usher, actually, yeah. I'm going to go with House of Usher. I mean, this is definitely my favourite building. Like I said, it's a castle, but it stands out on its own. It just looks really, really cool. Second favourite's probably Spook House, followed by Spine Chills. I think there's just that one issue with Spine Chills. I just wish it was a little bit more to it. But, yeah, overall, very decent selection of buildings. The only one I really, really hate is the Luxury Crypt and kind of the Fogberry Port, but I don't hate it as much as the Crypt, so, yeah. And then Facades, aka building skins. So I was so glad that they added a bunch of these into the game, finally. The last time we had Facades was actually the Christmas update, Christmas Whodunit. So it's very, very cool to see some more. And boy, do they actually have some really cool facades. First of all, the Krusty Halloween Horror Nights facade is awesome. So cool. I think my favourite facade, hands down, out of all this selection. It's just such an awesome facade. Yeah, no complaints about it whatsoever. Halloween headquarters, like I said, with the Columbus Day thing, I actually really appreciated that they did that. Instead of having like two buildings that have, a very similar name and a very similar purpose, they actually, made it a skin for that building. So yeah, I actually really liked that. Plus, it was a combo, so you can't complain that, if a crappy skin filled up the price track. It was a combo with the Columbus Day HQ, so that's really awesome. Then we have the Toilet Paper Flanders house. I can understand people not being too excited about this one, but I actually I dig it. It's quite simple facade, but it's quite Halloween spirity, so I like that. And then you have all the 4 Guilds Deals ones. So you have the Brown House of Horror, which I love. It's so cool. The Frady Cat Van Houten house is pretty decent. I don't mind it. It's a bit simple, but I also kind of like that. Then you have the Scary Blue house, again, pretty cool, simple but easy. And then the Skeletal Skinner house, which does look pretty nice. But why does it have Christmas lights on it? Did anyone notice that? Oh yeah, it's the same with the Van Houten one and the Brown house actually. The Brown house you don't really notice it as much, but with the Skinner one I really notice it because it's like 2 layers of them. It's so weird. But yeah, very cool. And then decorations. Halloween Horror Night billboard, I think really should have been somehow tied in with the other 2 billboards. It taking its whole place in the prize track is a little annoying because billboards just aren't that exciting, and we have so many of them. Now I realise that obviously it's a bit different to the other 2 because it's the billboard for the Krusty Land Horror Night, Halloween Horror Night, and so I can understand that, but you could have done like anything else, like combine these 2 together maybe, combine it with something. Don't have it on its own. I think just taking a whole place in the prize track was a little annoying, but it's one of the better billboards, I guess. I do like the lights above it. Seasonal workers I don't care for because it's a crowd, and I think, weren't these guys like actual characters, or at least one of them? I don't know. I think they should have actually added those sort of seasonal worker guys from that episode for sure. Like some of those guys who I think they go and scare Bart and the family, right? I don't remember that episode too vividly, but yeah, they definitely should have added some of those guys and added them as a crowd. I don't think this is all of them, but yeah, I don't like crowds anyway. I actually really dig this Jack-o'-lantern bouncy house. It just looks so cool. This one, awesome. The Springfield Forever Cemetery, it should have been a building. It really should have been a building. Especially considering it's like a it's like a theatre anyway. Why isn't it not a building? And you make the Luxury Crypt a building, but you don't make this a building. And that, to me, it was very disappointing. Especially even though the Springfield actual cemetery is a building anyway. So it's not even inconsistent. It's a movie theatre for Christ's sake. It should be a building. Really stupid, but it is a nice looking decoration, I guess. The Ghost Cemetery, I can't say I care for that much, but whatever. The two billboards, don't really care for. You got the zombie and ghouls billboard and the zombie years billboard. I do kind of like this one, but yeah, just not too keen on it. I do really like the fact they added the bottomless pit. It's kind of something from like a really, I think it's from the Leprechaun segment. Oh no, it's from the Krusty Doll segment. So it's pretty cool that they added that. It's kind of a classic Treehouse of Horror item that, yeah, I'm glad to get. Then we have the Reanimator. It's fine, I guess. Nothing. I'm not going to go crazy about it, but I don't hate it. The Spooky Dark Plunger. So, I'm cool with them adding these facades as like a gill steal. You know, make it cheaper. Make it like 50 donuts for these 4 facades. But adding the plunger into the gill steal, I just think is really crappy, because it should be something that is cash that every player can get, or added to the prize track and later added as cash when you do another Treehouse of Horror update. Because adding it is, you know, putting like a donuts behind it, it's just, you know, it's like one of those useful things. Could you imagine if they made the sky finger, the tappy sky finger thing, if they made that donuts? Like, it's a really useful sort of convenient thing for your town, and they've put a price behind it. It's just really crappy. It should be cash, or it should be in the prize track and then later added for cash. Very annoyed with that. Then you have the the Fogbury sign, which of course comes with HP Lovecraft and the Fogbury port. Yeah, it's fine. No complaints with it. Plus, it was added in the combo. I'm glad it was done that way and not thrown in the prize track as another prize. So the fact they added it, you know, as a combo with that, it's cool that they added it. So you've actually got that sign, but also it doesn't take a space in the prize track. So yeah, I was actually really happy that they did that. And then finally, just want to briefly talk about the mystery box. I'm not going to go through all the items that were added just because we'll be here all day, but I found the mystery box okay. I don't think it was amazing. I've heard some people say it's pretty crappy, but in the town that I have, my new town where I've played only one Halloween before, it was pretty good for what was in there. So that's kind of a different metric. I know for players who've been playing for 3 or 4 years, it may not be as you know, as much stuff in there, but I'm very disappointed that they didn't add Kang. That was a bit of a waste. Why is Kang so like rare now? They made Kang a rare character. It's so weird. Anyway, that is pretty much it. I want to cut this one short because I keep coughing. So anyway, thanks for watching. Tell me your thoughts on the update and which is your favourite item out of all of them. Favourite character, favourite skin, favourite building, favourite facade, favourite decoration. Give me it all. And also tell me your thoughts on the mystery box. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.